All right, so hello everybody, and welcome to the 62nd Part 2 edition of the SparkCast. Not
Hello.
the Infinity in second, Part
No,
2.
they're like pretty much the same number though.
Yeah,
62nd Infinity and second.
you were so close. Brian
Yep.
tried to guess which episode of this SparkCast this was immediately before the stream, and he was that close, just indiscriminately close.
Yeah,
All right, so while we're done talking over this commercial uh, that most people are seeing, except for the people who are watching on YouTube,
that's true.
dragons,
Watching from the future.
watching from the future.
Uh, Watching from the future, maybe such a distant future where they already have dragons and are playing with them inside of Project Spark.
And why are they watching this video if they already have the dragons?
Seriously. Well, this is really interesting because most people who are watching know that Moose here came to visit us at Team Dakota, and he got to see the dragon and play around with the dragon. Actually, gave some pointers on things for the dragon that we incorporated. So he is obviously under NDA about a lot of stuff he saw, but I am kind of curious listening to him tiptoe the line of like what he can what he can talk about with the dragon. What were your impressions when you were playing around with it?
So it is the most adult prop in Project Spark, or most grown up, or age appropriate, I guess, because it doesn't look like most of the other stuff in Spark, and that's a good thing. I didn't see any
Mm.
swirls. I didn't swirl, SWIRLs, not squirrel. Though it would be awesome to have a squirrel riding a dragon, make it happen, somebody. All right.
Wearing a top hat too,
Yes,
like
and a
top hat
monocle.
scroll. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
obviously.
and it it looked the scales weren't exactly what I was expecting, and neither was the underbelly,
Mm.
but it still functioned for what you would expect from a dragon, for the most part. Uh, there was one funny thing you showed. Um,
Oh yeah, a bug that you got to see that we did fix, but it's a funny bug.
it was the most amazing bug, and I kind of wish you would like incorporate it some way as a feature.
Yeah, I can talk about it. That's fine. It's one of our emotes for the dragon was like so broken that the dragon like the character model just exploded into this
Polygons
horrible,
everywhere.
yeah, polygon mess when you did this every time you did this emote. So that was fixed, but it was one of the most humorous bugs I think I've seen internally. So you got to see that.
It was like blah.
Yeah.
No. Uh,
We had jokes about making that the like the fall down emote
would have
because
been
it just
so
looked like
good.
there were dragon guts everywhere. It's just like the worst, horriblest looking thing ever.
I mean,
Um,
oh yeah.
it was due to like just assigning things to things that for another character, and that's what caused it. But it was a funny little bug we had for a day there.
Yeah, too bad that didn't last much longer. Uh, so the thing I played around with most while I was there was the color channels of the dragons.
Mm.
Um,
And that's what you gave us some pointers on too, which we incorporated.
yeah, but it was stuff I'm sure you would have found eventually if you had just
Sure.
kept messing around with it more.
Hmm.
But the the thing is, the blending of the colors are pretty good, especially on the wings. So I'm not sure how much detail I can go into, but there's multiple color channels per wing,
Yep.
especially in some areas, so that you can get a nice blending thing going on. So they don't have to be just monochrome. I think they showed that in the stream actually. Yeah,
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 we did show all the tint channels in our stream last week. So
right. So uh, the skin of the wings that can have three different colors in it. So you can do a whole lot of that to make it really diverse from dragon to
yeah,
dragon.
you have Wing A, Wing B, Wing C. I believe those are the names of the three channels.
Right. While the over like the bony portion or the arm portion, I'm not sure how to like the main columns of the wings. Those go on with like the skin color. So I had a lot of fun of like inversing which was darker, either the skin or the scales. Though there was
Mm.
something else. The scales were called something other than the scales, if I remember correctly. Scale plates? Plate?
Plates, I think. I
Yeah.
think yeah, I think they're called plates. Hmm.
So you can make your dragon look different just by reversing the color scheme of which one's darker, either the skin or the plates, and then switching those back and forth until you get the look you want. Um,
Hmm.
I actually I can tell them now, I guess, with the swamp thing when I was mocking that up,
Oh yeah. Well, you can. We posted out a Vine of the swamp scene you mocked out.
and I had the dragon in there.
Yeah. So if you really look at that Vine that we posted, there's a dragon far in the distance there.
Though I thought that they were gonna, use the background just as the background in the stream and not actually go venture into it.
Right.
So then when I got back from talking with Raul, like 20 minutes into the stream, the dragon was gone and were just zooming all around the thing. I was like, oh, I thought you guys would just use it as a background piece and then do your own doodling in the front of the stream, but oh well. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, dragon is, in my opinion, tied either tied with or slightly better than the dungeon pack for
Ooh, wow.
best things in Spark. And I didn't even play with the other props in the dragon pack very much.
Yeah, the ones that we'll be showing off tomorrow.
Right.
All the rest of the stuff.
So I expect you to do the color tinting for me because I didn't do it.
Yes, yes, I will show off that.
And also,
Yeah.
I
So
was
the
gonna say
other
also,
thing.
go ahead.
Wait, no, no, you go ahead.
No, you okay, fine. And also incorporating those props from the dragon pack into other characters and props.
Yep.
Okay.
And a big request we got on our last stream is show us the sockets. So we're gonna show you the sockets on the dragon.
Yes. Um, I honestly like the two that people were most requesting were the tail and the neck, just because they weren't. Oh, and the wings, because they weren't
Right.
sure exactly how those are going to work. So people can make custom stuff through them.
Yeah. We'll be showing all that off tomorrow. But one thing that actually Moose helped us with was figuring out the best way to color the dragon with code when you use primary color, secondary color, tertiary color, the best ways that it kind of works that way. So you kind of helped us with figuring that out. So it's allows you to easily change the dragon's coloring with code during runtime during the game.
And I think that's important just for copying and pasting colors and keeping them consistent between dragons. So if you wanted to spontaneously generate dragons and have them be different color schemes, then all you have to do is use the color cubes rather than load from templates that you would then have to manufacture and color code manually.
Hmm.
Um, though for dragons, I'm not sure if it's that big of an issue. For me, it was always more of an issue with architecture because would have to go into different architecture props. Like if there's two stone walls from the Codian archives, and I have to uh, type in the hex code for each of them to get the same consistent coding across each,
Mm.
as opposed to just adding a brain that already had the color codes integrated.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I guess that leads into our next question. This was a discussion that we had recently. It's cool to talk about.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, this is a discussion that actually we recently had with CAG members too, and it's cool to have that discussion with the public too.
So if you guys want to have your feedback put in, some props, especially in the sci-fi area, don't color code well. They will either only use two channels, the primary and secondary, or only in some cases only use one color. Um, and their assignment to which slot gets which color or which area of the prop gets which channel isn't very well thought out, especially in the sci-fi, as I said, um, where in some sci-fi props the sides will be colored one thing and the top and bottom will be colored the other. So there's just single color on top and single color on the side, whereas even by default there's multiple colors on the sides and multiple colors on the top. So I get the point was like how worth it to be to have somebody on Team Dakota go back and make the color channels make sense in the props that already exist.
Yeah, this brought up a question that we are curious with the community is do do people have people in the past used through code changed color channels on props? You know, you have primary color, secondary color, tertiary color. Have people in the past changed those with code running in game. Is it something that you would like to do more often? We're kind of curious about that because there is, I mean, um, it's something that we could definitely take a look at to like looking at our past props to get color channels to somewhere where it's easier for you guys to color them.
Because this wouldn't like negatively affect previous examples of people using solid color throughout their props, which is
Right.
what I think a lot of people actually were doing, just because the color channels of primary, secondary, tertiary were less reliable.
Hmm.
Personally, I would have liked to use these color channels more. I know Bob and I had considered it, but then it just quickly became, why bother? They're just not working in a reasonable manner. So, and I don't see anyone else jumping in chat saying anything about them using the color channels before. A lot of people ended up just manually coding them inside the props themselves. All right,
Okay.
so Kraken does say that he uses color code, and more channel use would be phenomenal. So the downside of, I guess, of changing this now would be previous examples of anybody who attempted to use primary, secondary, tertiary may get different results now than what they had intended.
Hmm.
But looking forward, I think it might be a good thing for the longevity of people coming after this point saying, I want to use color codes for channels and they're working in a good way, so I can go ahead and continue with that rather than people
Yeah.
coming in and saying, I want to try color codes. These don't work, never mind.
Hmm. Definitely think the balance, but it was a good discussion that was brought up, and we're curious in looking at this to if this is something where people are interested in using in just the idea of being able to use color in code to color your props more often and having that be fully consistent among all items. It's not used too often currently, but if it was consistent across all items, would it be used more often by people? So that is the question that we're posing, and we always have questions, and there's always trade-offs, but it could be a good thing. So we're
So
curious what you guys think.
if you guys have more thoughts on this as the show goes on, feel free to keep talking about it or just keep formulating your opinion and then talk to us about it later. Um, it might be something good to think about. If you
Hmm.
have, or find examples of props that don't work so well with code, and then post those along.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess we'll keep rolling and talk about TU16. Do we have a release date or release window for that yet?
Title update 16, the next update coming in Project Spark. We do not have a release date for that yet. We're expecting it by the end of September. So right now it's mid-September. So still within the next few weeks. I know we'd love to have an official release date. I know people are looking for a release date. We don't have an exact date, or we don't have knowledge of the exact date it'll land yet. We're still working on some final things, and there's always a certification process as well, which all stuff needs to go through to make sure that it's up to snuff. It doesn't break everything. So yeah, we're just not sure when it's going to land, but it's looking very soon. It's looking the next few weeks, and it's looking big as well.
So just to break into chat real quick, lore que you keep Maple Platoon, you keep asking like similar lore questions and keep getting similar answers. There's actually some really cool lore stuff that they've hinted at that you haven't found yet. Like when I was at the office, they had some pictures that I had seen before, but there were actually stories behind.
Yeah. Yeah, we do have like a full lore document. I think Paradox Moose here is not really too interested in lore, but I think I remember something actually interesting you, and I was surprised by that.
Well, it was one of the more darker elements of the lore, I feel.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. That's true. Of like the lore of yeah, of like I think it was probably the void and such and the origin of the void.
Right. So
Yeah.
the character that has been seen in some of the the pictures that have been publicly released or through. I even used that one of the pictures in my destruction jam. Uh,
Yeah. I can go ahead and call it what it is. The Void King.
right, so he looked cool, and he'd be cool to have added to the game, but he hasn't been yet, and you guys hadn't really talked about him at all.
Right. Yeah. But he's the one in if you look at kind of marketing art, the like very big death-like looking thing, that was a kind of a concept art, very, and that's very early concept art, but that's concept of sort of the idea of the Void King.
And also, some of the concept art that you guys, well, actually, some of it has been released, just you haven't given the details behind it.
Right, that concept art is out there. You have concept art on the on this Void King that is already out there.
I was gonna
We just
say,
haven't given a name to it.
I was gonna say of the, so void corruption exists because there's a void corruptor, but you guys went through several renditions of different kinds of corruption, and we had seen
Oh
this
yeah.
publicly, but it just wasn't explained by what the corruption was, or that it was part of
Yeah.
corruption.
So, all right, I can give you some background on the Void Corruptor. Could be cool, but initially the Void Corruptor was we had called it the Void General because the idea was a general in the army, but it's we kind of looked at it more and it doesn't really have ranks along those lines. So we kind of moved away from Void General to Void Corruptor. Really early on, there was something called the Void Knight, which this kind of came out of. And there is, I believe, achievement art showing the Void Knight. And it's basically the Void Corruptor, but a really like a long, slim, tall version of it. And that was like very early concept of this Void Knight, which later became the Void Corruptor. So yeah, there's a lot of like old concept art that actually made its way into our achievement art. That like a lot of that stuff has kind of gone by with people not really looking too much into it. Because like for instance, one of our achievement arts is actually the owlbear. So like the owlbear has actually
Oh,
been out
bear.
there, yeah, for forever as one of our achievement art pieces. So like if you look through all of the achievement art, you'll find some concept art that you probably have never seen before because there's like there's some really crazy ones in there.
All right, so now we've given Mabel Platoon several things to think about for questions to come up with.
Oh, all right, Maple Platoon, I can answer your question. Did the Creation Well and Void King come to existence at the same time, or did the Void King come later? The only thing I will say is the Void King came later.
Luke, I am your father. Moving on. Uh, Zieglauk's prop. We actually saw that, one, this is coming in TU16, but we've actually seen video now of it
Yeah, you
in action.
guys, .org broke the story on this. It's crazy. You guys broke the story before we did, mainly because we specifically told Zieglaug, here's all the stuff. We're showing you all this stuff. We're showing you all this video footage of it. Use this however you want to. And so it's been really cool seeing like how he's wanted to share this info out.
Yeah, so Charging My Laser decided he was going to send out a questionnaire of sorts or an interview with Zieglaug, and Zieglaug was very respondent, I guess, and thorough with his response. So we now actually see the spring effect, which is more like it isn't so springy though, is it? Like when it compresses, it doesn't pop back up, does it?
No, it's so the effect that the physics we applied onto this, it's using a modified version of our flag and tail physics. So for the point of this kind of spring system, so it's not a full spring. When that thing goes on the ground, it won't spring up and down, but instead it moves forward and backward, and also moves based on where you're moving. So like it'll move and kind of naturally along with however you're moving. So it's more similar to a tail than a spring.
I
That's what
was
I would
thinking
say.
rope.
Yeah, I would say that too. More similar to a rope. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
And people were saying that so we now know there's two sockets for it, the top and the bottom part. And
There's more than that, but those are the two key parts. You have the top piece of it and the bottom piece of it.
so people can like make chains out of this to make
Exactly.
a chain fence or not chain fence, but like a chain.
Yeah, and the bottom, I can also say the bottom socket is the tail. It's the tail socket. So that's like what we call it. So you use the tail socket, and that attaches something to the bottom piece of it, and you have the head socket, and that attaches to the top piece of it.
Yeah, the interesting part was when he attached multiples of them together to make that effect that would actually be useful to people.
Yeah, exactly. The video where you have three of them, one where all of them everything is powered off, so it just shows it's static, and one where everything's powered on, so it shows it like crazily moving,
Right.
and one where it's powered off and you're moving, so it shows like actual like movement effects, your own movement affects how those pieces move.
And this is going to be available for free to everybody, or is it going to be through the
Yep,
treasure trove, or
it'll be available free, and it'll just be automatically unlocked for everybody. They get Title Update 16, and it will be in everybody's prop gallery. It'll be easy to find also because it's called Zglaug's Capsule, and that's at the very end of the prop gallery
that's
because it begins
convenient
with a
for him?
Z. Yeah, I know. So it'll be like very end of the prop gallery, so easy for everyone to find.
The only thing that would have been easier is if somebody had one and their first letter was a pound sign.
That's true. Yeah.
All right, and the next thing you guys talked about in your State of Spark was the updating to 20 or more achievements, especially the um, more difficult to achieve ones. Do we have any more
Yeah.
information as far as which achievements or?
So we're not going to share the list of all the achievements until release date. We just don't want to share out those that list early. So you're going to have to wait until release date of Title Update 16. We have a whole post that goes through exactly all the achievement changes, but it's about 20 different items 20 different achievements that are going to be updated in there. So you'll have that to look forward to. And I think that's all I can say on that. All you know now is there will be 20 achievements that will be updated. Like Thomas said last week, they will be related to things that help incentivize play and help with the really, really hard to get achievements, making some more attainable goals for them,
Mhm.
and you will get all the information on exactly what they are and what the new unlocks are when Title Update 16 rolls out.
With the thread that's going on in the forums, there was an idea that went through. Wasn't sure if you had seen it yet, where
Yes.
giving acknowledgement to those who did the achievements legitimately, like the more difficult ones legitimately, and giving them like a place on the mantle, basically.
Hmm.
Has any consideration been done to that?
All I can say is good idea, and we have also thought of that.
Okay. As long as you guys are excluding the cheaters, I'm cool with it. But if you guys include the cheaters just because you're like, well, they technically did it, then I'm gonna punch you.
Okay.
All right. So that, on that note, we're moving to Noxious Bog. Yay! Okay.
Oh, getting to Maple Platoon's other lore question. Creation World came before the Codians also, so you can probably surmise the Creation World did create Codians.
So this week we saw the Noxious Bog Sky.
Oh yeah, that's right. With funny stories like when you guys were here, it wasn't fully working yet, so I don't think you got a chance to see it when you were in our
I
office.
did. It was just it wasn't
Oh,
working in the build in the stream room
that's
for
right.
some reason.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I did see the fog sky in person. Uh, it is a little bit thick, but that's also kind of good in a way.
Yeah, yeah, it's like thick on purpose.
Right.
We didn't have we didn't have anything that was daytime that was really thick ambient. We have the nebula star thing that's really thick ambient wise, but nothing daytime.
And if people want just only the ground to be covered instead of like the whole air, then they can just use the woodlands fog instead of that sky,
Right.
and then have that just low against the ground,
Hmm.
kind of like
Yeah,
a.
like the evening stormy sky is basically a non-ambient version of that in a way. The clouds they do look different, but they're similar in many ways.
The only difference would be like the tornadoes and the blue of the clouds above
Yeah, it's
or the
true.
below. I can't remember. Can't remember where the blue is in that sky.
In which one?
The uh, The Necromancer Sky. Stormy.
Is there any blue? I'm gonna have to go back and look. I don't think there's blue in that
There's
sky.
either blue if you look really high up or really low down. I forget which.
Oh, okay.
And so the one thing I had always been requesting is, for as long as I can remember, like as even especially last year when I went to studio and asked this directly to Andy Zibbets, uh, with changing the colors of the sky. Has there been any effort made towards that, or is that still on the drawing board of the to-do list?
There has been discussion around that. That's all I can really say. We've definitely discussed the idea.
All right, well, I guess I'll take that. All right, we already talked about the dragon. Is there anything else in there? Oh, so do we have a release date for the bog or for the dragon, or is this strictly tied to X days after TU16?
They're pretty much both tied to X days after Title Update 16. So I think we'll be more confident saying those release dates once we have release date for Title Update 16. You can expect Noxious Bog to be right around Title Update 16. I can say that, like right around Title Update 16.
And the next thing was actually a community-driven thing, where you guys did chime in. Project Spark standard form. So what is standard form? Why is it important? And how do you guys bring in your own material to the conversation?
Yeah, that was a really good discussion started by community member Lucid Stew. The idea of a standard form is most languages, most programming languages have this sort of standard format you follow for how to make your code readable for other people when they're looking through your code so they can follow along with it. They know where to expect things, and that's why HTML is probably the programming language that people might have the most experience with because it's more
It's a markup language.
right, and that even has kind of structure of it has a head section and a body section, and you put certain stuff in the head section, certain stuff in the body section. And that's like part of that standard form. So a few community members took it upon themselves to think through, when anybody can code anything in sort of any way, what's the standard form that the community can follow in making their code more readable in Project Spark? And it was a very interesting discussion. It's like it was a discussion that made us all really happy because it's a very mature, like really thinking through how we can help each other as a community type discussion. So it was a really great discussion. We're really happy about it. And so we have our own internal kind of standard form we follow on our creations, and it's something that we've developed over the years. And so we shared that out. We put out a blog post, yesterday. Put out a blog post yesterday, and that kind of talks about our best practices. So the best practices for how you would set up code, how we color code all of our cameras that we use for cutscenes and then in-game cameras, and how we color code all of our logic cubes, and then the general practices for how we set up certain types of code. So I put in there sort of how we set up cinematic code, how we set up a state manager, how we order things on a page. So that's sort of our own standard format. And I wanted to put that out there so the community can just learn to see how we do it. It's not something that we didn't put it out there to say, we do it this way, you guys better do it this way. It's just more of a, this is how we do it. Feel free to take any ideas from here as well. I can go into sort of like detail about why we actually came up with this.
Sure.
So our team is, we have a lot of people on the team. You guys, the community talks to, 6 people on the team, maybe total. You talk to kind of the surface of it. And there's so many people who work and have worked on Project Spark over the years. And so there's a lot of people who design stuff in Project Spark. And a few designers took it upon themselves to come up with a standardized format to make it easier for everyone else to kind of to design things in the same way. And I can say 2 of those members are you have a you have a member Rob Porchke, and then Mike Stagnita are two of our designers who have been with us for a long time and really helped put this together. And they initially put it together because as they're bringing new designers on, the new designers they like once they ramped up understanding how Project Spark was, they would build something, and then they would go into add stuff on top of it, and they'd be like, "Well, I don't. Where'd you put this? Like, where? How does this thing do that?" And they would have to spend like hours just explaining. The designer would have to spend hours explaining how they designed something so that the next person could help them out. And so that's when they realized they needed to have some sort of standard format because they have a large team, a lot of people working together, and they needed to just make it simple so that, like, when the next person got it, they knew, all right, I need to add stuff to the state manager. Now, the state manager is the thing that sets, like, all of the scenarios that happen in the game, like all the progression points. If you look in Conker's Big Reunion, if you ever remix that, you see this really big blue logic cube up in the sky, and that's the state manager there. And you'll see like a lot of pages that have like all the different scenarios that happen. Like once you've finished the brewery section, once you've finished the Teddy's boss section, once you finish the chainsaw section, once you've like gone through the intro portion, and then you have there's like different logic keys we needed to use for trigger zones and other stuff. And so it just makes it a lot easier when they're all color coded. So like, oh, I need to go fix our enemy spawner. All right, I need to find a red logic cube because that's going to be an enemy spawner. Kind of cuts down the amount of stuff you're looking for by like 10 times. So it's like it's been really useful. And like when because I was helping the team with working on stuff for Conker's Big Reunion. I ended up helping out with a lot of the cinematics. And like when I first came on, the team all knew about this. I didn't. So I made a lot of stuff, and I didn't know about their standard form, and I added it all in and uploaded it and sent it to the next person. And like an hour later, they came over and like, I don't understand what you did to anything. Nothing makes sense. What you changed, I don't get it. So like that's when I realized, there's the standard form thing, and I just didn't ask when I was making my changes. And like then the next time I put out stuff, then they got it, and 2 hours later it said, okay, I added my stuff in, and passed it back to me, and it just made it so much easier for people to add stuff. And like before, the first time, they were like totally lost on what changes I made and like how I did anything. So
So it was more or less a quick and dirty way of avoiding the need for comments, or reducing the need for comments.
yeah, standard, a really good standard form, and a format that you all follow makes comments not as needed. It makes it so that you can follow along and read along with what somebody's written.
All right, so those who would like to contribute to this discussion, feel free to head over to .com. That thread is still active. I believe
Yeah.
it's on the coding conversation.
It's under coding conversations, and like I would say, anybody listening to this, if you're interested in making something with a team of people, like collaborating with people, or if you're interested in making something that you want other people to remix, like starter kits, make sure to follow what the practices the community is coming up with the standard form. Because first, when you're collaborating with someone, then you can always just like you add something and you pass it back to them, and they're like, I don't know what you did, man. And you can say, oh, just look at this standard form here on the forums. Then they'll follow that and they'll understand it and they'll follow it. Or you send something and people remix it, and then you can say, hey, it follows the standard format that the community has set up. So you guys should be able to read it better.
Yeah, and anything that can be done to encourage or support collaboration, I am totally supportive of.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
So, speaking of community stuff, there is currently a Heaven and Hell DLC challenge going on in the community challenges section. So, people who are
Yes.
interested in those community challenges can check that out.
Yeah, I believe end date I think is the 21st or the 23rd of September. So it's coming up. But everyone definitely participate in that. And there's a second community challenge, this arcade challenge that's for the players in us all, the people who want to get the highest score in 5 different worlds. And then the person who gets the highest score between all 5 of those gets a rare replay code.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Um, The next thing is the ticker message suggestions, where that little message that sprawls across the bottom of the screen. It's been kind of stagnant for the past, I don't know, a few months.
Yeah.
And now you guys are taking, well, you guys had always been taking suggestions, just that now you're more vocal about it.
Yeah, it was always something like, oh yeah, I guess if people suggest we'll take it. But you guys are the ones who read all these ticker messages, so I thought it'd be more fun if we let you tell us what your ticker messages should say. We already added in a few community suggestions already. Just last week we added a few in, but we're going to be adding more and more in. So if you guys have suggestions about what you want some ticker messages to say, whether it's informational, like stuff you wish you kind of like easy, simple stuff you wish you kind of knew off the bat. That's stuff we love to put in there, or like fun little tips, stuff we love to put in there, or just if you can think of like a funny code joke, or a funny joke about one of our content packs, whatever, what have you. Feel free to suggest them to us, and we'll take ones that we like and we'll put them in there.
I think there was one that you put about dragons.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I have one. I like as a joke posted one like dragons are terrible swimmers, I think.
Do you know dragons are terrible swimmers or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, dragons because dragons are terrible swimmers. Have you ever seen a movie or a TV show or anything where a dragon swims? And I'm not talking about sea dragons; those are different.
Yeah, those are like leviathans and stuff.
Yeah.
No, I don't, except for when they were dying or something.
Right, falling and dying. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, dragons are terrible swimmers.
Good to know. And so there is something else on here. I can't remember what it was. Standard form. Oh, you're moving. So are you guys? So you guys are moving offices. Do you
Oh,
guys have a
yeah,
date for
yeah.
that?
That's right. Our team is teams. Sometimes teams will move offices. It happens. It happens more often than you think here. So yeah, we're moving offices. We're in the process of moving, and we should be settled actually next week. So hopefully we'll be doing our streams next week from a brand new location. You might see this poster behind me. This poster that you're used to in our streams might be moved like 1 foot to the left, because I think you'll probably still see a white wall behind you.
So you guys have
But
been
it
to
might
the,
look slightly different where you'll see like maybe the chairs we're sitting on. Oh, you can't even see it. Maybe the chairs we're sitting on will be like red instead of beige. Crazy
or
stuff like that.
maybe the walls will be painted a different color, or maybe it's slightly
I
brighter.
don't know if I go that far. That's a bold statement of different colored
All right,
walls.
so lighting is different.
That's true. Lighting could be slightly different.
Have you been to the new office yet?
Yeah, yeah, we have been. It's yeah, really, we're really excited for the new digs are awesome. It's great to be at undisclosed new building.
I think I've been to that building at Microsoft. I think Thomas gave me a tour of undisclosed building.
Oh, there's many of those undisclosed new building or undisclosed just building. And this is undisclosed building XV 10258.
Sounds
I don't know. I just
cozier. Yeah.
yeah.
So, previously you guys had been like some of the last people in the office. So you guys moving back into a whole lot more people?
Yeah, we're moving in with more people. Yeah, we've been. It hasn't been too many people in this office. Kind of people moving in waves. So it'll be good to be with a lot of team members again. It's good stuff.
Good team members, good. All right. Was there anything else you wanted to cover? Like what you wanted to cover tomorrow or Friday or Tuesday?
Mm, yeah, I mean, we'll keep everyone updated on. There is a chance that this move might affect our Tuesday stream next week. We're not sure, so we'll keep everyone updated on that. That's why I'm bringing up the fact that it's really honestly won't affect anything else, but it may affect our Tuesday stream. So we will just have to let everyone know about that. If we aren't able to do the Tuesday stream, what we'll probably do is we'll find some time to at least, because we have a good tutorial for next week, so we'll find time to record the tutorial, just not live stream it, and just post it that week.
That works too. So what are you guys going to cover tomorrow's stream?
We are going to be showing off. Like we are going diving off the deep end into dragons. We have the dragon. That was a fun little surprise of last week, but we will be showing off the rest of the stuff coming with Dragon's Ascension.
So dragons ascend, whereas dungeons descend.
Haha, someone got it.
Okay.
You can thank BJ for that cleverness there. We like whenever we come up with new content packs, we have like a kind of do this email chain of like of deciding on what the pack is. And with that one, he just like wrote off the bat like, no, this is Dragon's Ascension. We were like, whoa, that's great.
And the question is going to be like for Noxious Bog and or Dragon's Ascension, who's going to be able to ring the bell?
Ooh, that's a good question. Uh, who rings the bell will TBD. We'll have to get for like to coincide with the epicness of this epic content. We'll have to get some epic people to ring the bell. I feel like.
Yep, absolutely. Um, and then for Friday stream, are you guys still on par for that?
Yes, we are. Yeah, we'll be playing some community creations, having fun with that. We may. Uh, Actually, we have some really good ones to play. I was gonna say if we have time, we may try and see where Charles. So those of you who don't know, Charles on our team, the
Punisher.
release manager, the Punisher. He is notorious for being good at getting high scores in games. I think he might be actually participating, obviously not to win the prize, but just for fun, participating in the community challenge that Rodrigo Bezzi is running, the arcade one. So if we have time, he might try and on the stream get a high score in one of those 5 games, so you can kind of see how he does it because he's amazing to watch. After our all right, this is a crazy thing, but after our stream on Friday, we had this level that we featured last week called Bacon's Dungeon Puzzle. It's like 25 levels. We got through I think 5 on our live stream,
Yep,
and
it
it
was
is
like 6 hours, right?
the 25 hardest levels ever. The first like 5 are pretty good, but it gets so hard. On our forums, funny thing is, Lady Likes UK started posting like a guide of how to get through levels, and she's only gotten up to 11. So Charles like spent the night here finishing it, getting through. He was able to like. He told me he was able to get to like 23 or 24, and finally had to call it quits for the night. And then he came back from like over the weekend and found that he had accidentally gone offline, or no, he'd accidentally shut off his computer, or his computer shut itself off over the weekend. So he lost his progress on that. But he was all the way up to level 24.
Okay, so that's what Charles does at work.
No, no, no. I noticed how he said like he spent the night. He like at 6:30 when I was leaving the office, he was like going for it, and he was doing this crazy. He was doing this like you saw crazy, crazy puzzles, and you could just hear him like at certain points just like cursing about how hard it was. It's like the hardest puzzle. Uh, it's like really hard puzzle
Though
pieces.
it wasn't uncommon for me to look over into somebody's cubicle and see them playing something like Invasion 2.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, the funny thing is like we are a team that makes games, so a lot of people in the team would play games for research. Like Claude and Steve did this all the time, where like especially when they were coming with a Conquer Champion, they had like a TV running Conquer games like continuously on like behind them, and they like switch over, play that a bit, figure out mechanics. So like playing games is not too uncommon to see, but like what I have definitely seen happen more and more often. So you look at someone's screen and they're playing Project Spark creations to like, play through those and see how those work. So it's I think you got to witness someone playing Invasion 2. That's right.
I did hear that some of the devs took an interest in Charge after they saw Invasion 2.
Yeah, I mean, it really did. Honestly, Invasion 2 blew us away, and we were like, "Who is this guy? This is amazing. This is something that like this polish is unheard of, and we most of us had never really heard of this creator before, so they definitely took interest. It's, I would say, of all the games, all right, there's two games that are played the most often. I know, three games played most often by our team members. You go over to one of those games, you'll find these three games being played most often: Invasion 2, Swordman and Conquer, and Axion's Bend. Those are the three games you'll see played most often.
So, do you think that, and I'm sure a while back it would have been things like X Zero or
Oh
um,
yeah.
other, I guess there were some some other impressive ones that came along the way but they keep getting progressively better. Do you think that people could use these as part of their resume to get a job as a game developer in some field?
Uh, Totally, yes. People have already. Like, I've actually gotten stories. I have so many cool stories from people in the community that they've sent me, and they've told me about sort of like how Project Spark kind of changed their lives. And I've gotten a lot of stories from people who use Project Spark to get into game design school and to go for that. A lot of people who, because of Project Spark, went into development fields. A lot of people who used a game they made in Project Spark to get into the game industry. Like there's the crazy story I heard is there was I heard it secondhand, so I might get some of the details wrong because it was told to someone from our content team during GDC. But there was a game developer from, I'm pretty sure it was Peru, and they came from a family of complete poverty, and they found Project Spark, and they and it was a free to play game, so they had it on their PC, and they started kind of learning just game development through Project Spark, and they now work as a game designer in the industry. They like just got their game design job um, because of kind of how they found their passion in Project Spark. It's like a really powerful story that I can't do justice because I only heard secondhand, so I didn't get the guy's full entire story. But it's stuff like that you hear is just crazy.
So there are a lot of different aspects that people can actually thrive in Project Spark. So some people are good at prop building, other people are great at level design and making a game balanced, other people are really good at coding. So which aspects of these do you think would lend themselves to which other positions within the industry?
I think so. Probably the thing that you have the best correlation with the game designer. There's a lot of game positions, but the game designer is someone who it's the most rounded, usually the most rounded person on the team that they have to deal with. The designer has to deal with some design aspects. Mostly they have to work on game mechanics though. Like the game designer is like big into game mechanics and figuring that out. Like think about on our team, you have Claude and Stevo, were are two big game designers who made all of our champions and all the mechanics behind those. So those are big things. And you have like our designers also work on all of our content packs. So the designers work on some art. They don't actually usually they don't build it. Those are for environment artists or prop artists. But they kind of will take the thing built and actually bring it to life. That's what they do, and then give it unique behaviors, unique mechanics, and then put them in a unique setting, in a game setting. And like the designers are, there's a lot of people who stitch this fabric together, but I'd say like they have kind of, by and large, they usually have the biggest hand in stitching fabric together. So they're generalists, and I think Project Spark is the generalist type tool where it gives you code, gives you prop building, it gives you like a lot of gives you a lot of ways that you can make your own mechanics. And I think like you're best served if you make some really impressive stuff in Project Spark that like hits on design, code, and mechanics. That like those like look great in a portfolio, and will serve you best probably as a game designer. Because if you go like environment artist, they want to see like if you make something in a program like ZBrush or Maya, or other like Blender, for instance. They want to see like just what models you make. That's what they look for in artists, or like concept artists. They'll look for like what concept art you've made and what you're good at sketching. For developers, they like specifically look at like your C++ or C sharp or whatever coding they're looking for, like what your skill is, how many years you have working with it, and what you've built with it. But the designer is usually broader of just like what have you made that is playable and that's shareable. So I would say like that's the main thing that you can like if you're interested in the game design industry and you want to use Project Spark towards that, you can definitely most use it towards a game designer.
Could they put you down as a reference on their resume
Um,
if they've been
if they
featured? Let's say that.
You could put, yeah, you could put your like you could definitely put like the fact that you're featured by Team Dakota as like a thing that like a skill on your resume. If you like want an actual reference, feel free to reach out to Thomas or I or someone from the team, and we'd be happy to like if we know the community member, know what they've worked on, we'd be happy to do references.
I mean, because it would be cool if somebody would actually parlay their making a really good level, something that was like in the Hall of Fame or something in Project Spark, and then bridge that into having a career at Microsoft, and then
Yeah,
we get to have them on a Sparkcast talking in your position.
yeah. I mean, like that's what happened with me. Although, I'm more on the community side, but I build stuff. Like I help with building stuff in the game. Same with Thomas and Zach is even more so because he is like specifically a designer now. He started on the community, but he's specifically a designer making stuff. He like makes the packs basically. That's like one of his jobs. So and we all started in the Project Spark community. So yeah, it's definitely something it's not unobtainable
I
because
remember that
three people obtained it.
you actually got that position because you made like Mike Let's Go not feel so bad about making terrible games in Project Spark.
That might have been one of the things. I remember like I remember not making too much fun of him when he made his first game at Comic-Con, when I was there at Comic-Con with him and you were there and Fred was there
Hey,
and he
listen,
made that game in 5 minutes.
I remixed it, so I showed it some respect. I
That's
remixed it
right.
properly.
I remember like the thing that was interesting is the fact that he made the speed really high when he did certain things and then like then Fred showed like, oh, you can use this as an exploit to get to higher things and he's like, whoa, I didn't even think about that. So it was fun.
And to answer Rosie's question, the banner on .org, it's referring to more or less expanding to other areas outside of Project Spark. So that Fred has his own dream about connecting gamers with developers to have a similar relation to how we at .org have a relationship with Team Dakota.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like when he was telling me about that when you guys visited, it's really cool, and it's it is like the more in the industry that us developers can talk to directly to people who play the game, it's empowering for both. It's empowering to so like a lot of developers, they just hear usually the stuff that gets back to them is honestly usually the negative things because that's the loudest things. So a lot of times, and I'm not speaking. This is not for Project Spark. This is like just generally because I know a lot of people in the industry now, and like the thing that usually seeps through are like the negative stuff, and it kind of they're like, oh man, everyone hates the thing I made. I thought everyone loved it. So like when you have that one-on-one direct conversation, you get like reinvigorated and you like hear from people who are like, no, that thing was awesome. Don't listen to those like five people who are really loud about it. And it makes them feel like re-energized and great. Like that's how I feel every time that I go on like this Sparkcast is, you kind of feel re-energized. But like talking about people are like, and like with live streams, we felt like really re-energized when we show up Dragon and everyone's like, yeah, Dragon. It felt like made us feel great.
Especially it was like finally Dragon.
Yeah, but it really makes you feel great, and also for like the more informed just gamers are about the game design process, like the more they know, just the better it is for them too, because it's just like I just know like I now know some people who work in the industry on things and like the amount of sweat and hours of no sleep they put into a game is just crazy.
Well,
Last
speaking of
place
which, that was you. You had like huge dark circles underneath your eyes when I visited.
Yeah, I don't sleep, so that's different. But like the amount of time they spend is just crazy, and so like getting like having people realize that, oh man, this thing that I got is like, like it there's never anything that comes out and it's like perfect 100%. There's always a few rough edges. So like it has a few rough edges, but I can tell that this developer like put their soul into this, and it makes them feel better too because they're like, man, these developers really do care. So it's like all around great, and I really wish Fred the best on that venture.
So, from my experience, I've kind of been intermediate. I haven't been all in, but I haven't been all out.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
there have been a lot of times where I thought, this is cut and dry. This is how it looks on the outside. It has to have been that way. It's just obvious that that's how that happened. And then hear things under NDA from like Jed, and I'm like, oh, wait, that's how this happened? Really? And I know I was completely wrong, and it's NDA, so I can't tell anyone. But everybody on the outside is going to see it that way forever, the same way I saw it, and the same way I was telling people that that's how it was.
Yeah, there's a really great article out there, honestly, that this probably gets too behind the curtains, but there's a really great article just about like why developers don't just reveal every single thing about a game, and it's because more information is good, but sometimes some people can't handle more information, and they'll handle it in the wrong way, and they'll perceive that as like a lot of people will perceive it in the most negative way they can, and so that's why I think you get a lot of stuff where like there we do have lots of stuff under NDA where we can say exactly why something happened a certain way, but we would never say that publicly because of just different ways it could be perceived and things that could fall out from that. And that's the way with kind of every game. There's always like 1,000 behind the scenes stories that would be crazy to know about.
Right, because more often than not, I was like, oh, I understand that. And I can also understand why you're not telling people that.
Right, right.
So I'm in an awkward situation where I'm like, I want people to know everything, and I know that they shouldn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, for my own sanity, it's actually been beneficial knowing more than knowing less. So for everybody out there, I suggest that you email Brian and Thomas and ask them to sign an ask that you can sign an NDA so you can know more stuff. And then if you leak it to anybody, you get sued heavily.
That's true. That is true. I don't think we're taking any more NDA applications at this time, but I will let people know when that changes.
All right. So on that note, we'll see you guys tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific, or no, noon Pacific.
3 p.m. Pacific.
I always get your Tuesdays and Thursday times
Yeah,
mixed
3
up.
p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I used to know it off the top of my head better. BST, I think, is it still BST or GMT now? I think it's still BST. 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. One of those two.
So British time.
Yes,
Yeah.
British summertime.
And then on Friday, it's 11 a.m. Pacific.
Yes, that is
So that's
correct.
2 p.m. Eastern.
Hmm.
And that's also 1 p.m. Central Flyover time.
That's correct. Let's go through every time zone for everything.
I just like saying Central Flyover time to make fun of the people in Texas.
And in American Samoa, it's this time.
And then on Tuesday, you guys are going to wait and see if it is actually going to be available.
Yes, yeah, we'll just have to let people know. It's looking good, like we will have that stream, but I don't know. We'll just be settling into our new space, so you never know. Settling pains.
All right, and we're going to end on talking about the dragon because we started with that as well, and it's like really cool. So,
Closed loop, yay!
so how did you first see the dragon, and what was your impression of it when you first saw it?
So I actually didn't see like a dragon's been concepted for a long time. I didn't see it until the team was like reconcepting what it would look like. Probably it was like around the time that we were really heavy into Conquer stuff. Then they were also concepting out what the dragon would look like. We always knew. So like the community's been asking for dragon. We actually always knew we'd get there too. But it's good to finally get there. It just took us a long time to get it right. Like concepting that. We spent the longest time on concepting that. I have so many dragon head and dragon body sketches that I've seen of like what they were working on to have it look like. But it was a long concepting phase, and once I got into that, the sculpting, that also took a really long time. It's an epic creature, and it has like the sculpting of it took longer than probably any of our other things, just because it's like so detailed. You like zoom up on its eyes, and it's like even the eye itself is so detailed. It's crazy stuff like that. So it's been in development for a long time, and I've seen it like since they started reconcepting it, probably like 8 9 months ago. Was when I've seen it like all throughout progression. Like it's been pretty awesome seeing like from page to like proxies to like full sculpt to like animations to like full textures and so on and so forth.
And now it breathes fire.
Yes, to fire breathing.
So, did you have any input, like as far as the direction goes? Because I can answer this also a little bit, I'm sure, but you go ahead and talk about your personal experience.
Oh yeah, I was. They just asked for. I mean, like they would just say like, "Hey, how does this look?" And it's like, "This looks awesome, guys. Keep on just doing exactly." But the one thing I was asked to just get my perspective on like what the community would want in terms of how sockets are positioned, specifically with the like wings. We spent a long time kind of figuring out the best positioning of sockets on the wings. So if you guys don't like the sockets on the wings, you know who to blame.
That guy.
Yeah, but yeah, it was me and a few others who kind of like weighed in on what might look better.
All right, so I think on that note, we don't have pricing. Last stop. We don't have pricing information for the bog or the dragon yet, do we?
No, we typically will reveal that info a few days before it comes out.
Okay. So we will see you guys tomorrow on
Yep,
the content stream with the more dragon stuff.
indeed.
All right. And so on that note, I guess it's good night. All right, thanks Brian for joining us. Thanks to everybody in chat for joining us, and we'll be back next week at this time and talk more about whatever it is that comes up in the state of Spark and CAG call and whatever else is on the forums and such.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Night, guys.
Bye.
I almost started to try trick you into talking about the next content pack.
Oh, that would have been embarrassing if I accidentally leaked the next content pack live.
Yeah.
Like they just like someone accidentally maybe leaked Last of Us 2 live.
So, which content pack? So how many content packs do you have lined up after Boglands and Dragon?
Um, it's between the numbers of 1 and 1 billion.
All right, so you know we're still streaming then. Okay.
No, wait, you got me. Oh no, I had no idea. You never pull this. This is weird.
Hey, listen, it's you have to like. I'd be.
It's fun. It's fun to try and trick me. Like I actually. So I was watching last week's stream, and I thought you did trick Thomas when like you guys were talking. I was like, oh man, Thomas doesn't know. He's gonna reveal stuff accidentally.
Oh. All
So
right.
like I thought you got him.
I think I did for a little bit, and then I like tried to ease in the question, and he's like, "No, this sounds like a question for the stream." So yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
well.
I think like honestly, if you probably would if you prodded him with something small, you probably would have got something. I don't know if he was aware of it still streaming or not. So that was a fun thing.
All right. So we'll see you guys next week and try again.
Yep. Bye guys.